no one else but Madam Gonali Myers. Madam Myers, thanks ever so much. We go to one of the most important part of this program, which happens to be, we want to know who is our guest speaker. Before we do that, somebody needs to come here and tell us who is this perspicacious individual. So, we will go on stage as seasoned business development professional, and she is the head, she is the team lead of the Majors Delivery Unit of the City of Freetown on the project known as Transform Freetown. Put your hands together and welcome on stage Madam Manja Cabo as she introduces our guest speaker. Madam Cabo.
Ministers of government, members of the legislature of Liberia, Lord Mayor Jefferson Korji, Her Worship the Mayor of Freetown, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My task here today is to introduce you to the speaker for the event, my boss, a woman who happens to be so much more than that. She's the Mayor of Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone. Her leadership as the mayor is characterized by passion, hands-on delivery, and genuine care about the people of our city and our country. One of the things I admire about her the most is that she's a master planner. She leaves nothing to chance. I guess that can be attributed to her more than 25 years of professional experience in strategic planning, risk management consulting, and project management within the private sector. Bringing such experience into the office of the Mayor of Freetown has really been a breath of fresh air for so many Freetonian residents, and it's brought a turnaround in service delivery in a city that badly needed it. For the first time in post-conflict Sierra Leone, Freetown has a plan for development, the Transform Freetown Agenda, with its 11 priority sectors covering issues ranging from environmental degradation to improving waste management. She's taking the entire city along on this transformative journey. Freetown accounts for 30% of the GDP of Sierra Leone, and our mayor understands that if we're able to transform our city, it will cascade into developing other parts of our nation. A lot rests on her shoulders, but she's up to the task, and she's already made significant progress. Progress that has resulted in her being recognized in numerous platforms, including BBC 2020 100 Women List and being featured on TED. Until I started working for her, I really underestimated the importance of local government. I have come to realize that this is where the change is needed the most. And this is where people feel the need the most. Our mayor wakes up every morning committed to ensuring that residents of our city have an opportunity to build dignified lives for themselves and their families. It is always an honor to introduce this transformational leader, my mayor, the indefatigable Yvonne Sawyerr.
Thank you very much, and welcome on stage our mayor, a Florida trained, a London School of Economics trained, a mother figure, somebody that understands the MRU based in respect to economic development and economic growth, and she plays a major role in the transformation process of the city of Freetown. Madam Mayor, here is yours.
Mayor of Freetown.
PC proceeds. Ministers of government, members of the legislature, my brother, the Lord Mayor of the city of Monrovia, commissioners, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, the diplomatic corps, especially recognizing those from the Embassy of Sierra Leone in Liberia, partners, students, the people of this great city. Good afternoon. I've been asked to speak on the theme, Sustaining Smart Action for Smart Cities. And I've started by actually looking up the definition of a smart city. I'm sure Mayor Koji, like myself, we came into office within a very short space of each other. He was elected in December 2017, and I was elected in March 2018. And we met for the first time a couple of months later in June. And like many mayors on the continent, we have the terminology, we hear the narrative, which actually sometimes relates more to countries and cities outside of our continent than to ours. And the definition of a smart city is an urban area that uses different types of electronic data to get insights to be used to manage assets, resources, and services effectively and efficiently within their city. So sounds great, right? When you have access to internet, when you have access to power, when you are dealing with some of the challenges that we are dealing with as cities in the global south, as cities in the sub-region. But it's not undoable. It's not beyond our grasp. But I want to step back a little bit as I address this theme, the theme of sustaining smart actions for smart cities, and start by saying, in our context, in the sub-region, in our context in West Africa, with the challenges that our cities face, maybe the use of technology to collect data isn't our #1 priority right now. Maybe there are issues about impacting the lives of our residents with the most basic of services that we must also tackle, recognizing, of course, the role that data can play. So I want to talk a little bit first about a smart impact. What would a smart impact look like in a smart city? For me, it means raising the living standards of all of our residents by providing the delivery of services to them within the context of integrated urban development. It means making sure that, as the UN Sustainable Development Goals say so easily, so lightly, and yet which is so challenging, leaving no one behind. And I know that in this city, this is a concept which is owned and grasped by the mayor. We had the privilege of spending some time with him yesterday in a community for the quiz competition, and I know the prizes will be delivered here later. But that's what it's about, making sure we're reaching not some of our residents, but all of our residents. No small task. When we, as cities, are the capitals of countries where the Human Development Index, our position on that ranking, is far lower than we'd like it to be. But it's a task that we cannot turn our backs on. It's a task that we are challenged to address. It's a task that means we're going to have to take smart action. So this afternoon, I'd very quickly like to share with you 3 actions which I consider to be the sort of smart actions that we require to sustain smart impact in what we would then determine to be our smart cities. What's the first one? Strategic planning. I think my introducer kind of saw, she must have seen my notes before she came up. There is no progress without planning. And I would say that I challenged myself, and I know that there's a plan, a 5-year plan for Monrovia, but I challenged myself in coming into office to ensure that we had a plan that was strategic, but also transformational. We, in this part of the world, and particularly in the Mana River Union, ourselves, Guinea and Liberia, and our cities, Monrovia, Freetown, and Conakry, have far too long been at the bottom of the rung. There is no reason, if I look around this room, if I look at the smart young ladies who were upstairs with us, the contestants for Miss Liberia. If I look around at the young men and women that were in the community with us yesterday afternoon, if I look around at the commissioners, the councillors, the staff that I've met, why are we so poor? Why are we so far behind? We need to take this challenge on, and doing it at the city level is a good enough place to start, as good as any. And what does that mean with this strategic plan? To me, in our experience, it means a few things. One, it needs to be a plan that brings everybody on board. You need to involve all your stakeholders. Cities have so many different drivers, so many different interests. But if you don't bring your public sector, your private sector, the social sector, and most importantly, the residents on board, you can find yourself taking a path and you look behind and there's nobody there. So what we did in our example, and I know the city of Monrovia has its own examples, and I'm really, really respectful and impressed by what I've seen. What we did in our case was to identify, as Man just said, 11 priority sectors. This is the concept of integrated urban development. So moving from environmental management to urban planning and housing, to revenue mobilization, education, skills development, persons with disability, job creation, health, water, sanitation, and urban mobility. We put together a framework in which we said, for these 11 sectors, if we are able to identify key targets that will change the narrative, change the reality, not on paper, but in the lives of the people on the ground, then we will see transformation in our city. And that's what Transform Freetown is about. It's 19 specific targets. I will give 2 quick examples. And one of them is because we're saying sustainability. And I don't want us to ever lose sight of the fact that in this time of climate change, we saw rain in Monrovia last night, in February. What does that tell us? Climate change is real. We don't expect rain in February. It's happening and we need to be prepared for it. So sustainability means having an eye to that. So one of our targets in environmental management is to increase tree cover in our city by 50% by 2022. A huge order. It meant we committed to planting 1 million trees over 2 rainy seasons. And we're on it. We're doing it. And it's happening. And it's happening because we've articulated. It's happening because we left nobody behind. It's happening because when we sit to discuss our targets, we have in the room our donor partners. We have in the room our ministries. We have in the room our community-based organizations. And we're solving the problems collectively. Did I say it was easy? No, I didn't say it was easy. Did I say it was necessary? Yes, I said it was necessary. So we keep on going in spite of the challenges. And I say to my brother that he has some advantages over me. He is a member of the ruling government. I'm a member of the opposition. In Africa, the dynamics are different. But that notwithstanding, it is still possible to make progress when you're clear in your planning. A second target that we have, which is really important, and which is where my brother and myself will be actually having an exchange visit in the next few weeks, and that's sanitation. Mary Braw was at the, former Mayor Mary Braw was at the event yesterday. I don't see her now, is she here? I understand her name was Mary Breakit. And that she has an obsession for cleanliness. But what I find so encouraging and refreshing is that Mayor Jefferson may not be Jefferson Breakit, but he certainly is talking sanitation non-stop. And what we got as a target here is to move, and this is why the smart city talks about data. It's important to get the data, even when we don't have the electricity and the internet. We move from 6% of liquid waste being collected and 21% of solid waste being collected. We have set ourselves the target to move both of those numbers to at least 60% of solid waste and liquid waste being safely collected, managed, and disposed of in our city
by 2022. And again, when you have a target, you have a plan. Without a target, it is so easy for us to meander and lose sight of where we're going to. So smart action number one, let's make sure we have clearly articulated targets that speak not only to the outcomes, but also speak to improvements in our systems. And that sometimes comes with resistance, but it's part of the cause, onwards and upwards. Second strategic action, second smart action. The first was having a strategic plan and ensuring you've got measurable targets. The second, mobilizing the resource. What do people say? It's money that makes the world go round. And it's true in development as well. It's impossible for us to do the scale of work we need to do without having access to resources. And as a city government, there are three main areas that you can go. At this point in our histories, when we're talking about the need for major capital investment in order for us to bring transformational change, we have no option for now but to open our doors to development partners. It's not the story of our lives, it's not where we want to stay. We don't forever want to be looking to the World Bank, the ABB, the UN, and so on. But it's a question of timing. And for where we are today, we focused on trying to resource mobilize externally, starting with development partners. And this year, we've just published our second year report of Transform Freetown, and we raised the equivalent of $21 million from a combination of partners, and the second place, the private sector. You need to resource mobilize. You set the targets, and I remember when we were setting the targets, we were sitting around, we had working groups, and sometimes people would say, Mayor, how are we going to be able to pay for this? It's like, you just plan. You just dream. Don't let anybody, the sky is your limit. Pretend you have all the money in the world, and then we'll work it out and see where we go. And so we resource mobilized because there was clarity about what we wanted to do. And my brother here, this is an area where, in terms of that sustaining smart action, resource mobilization is key. But there's also the need for us to resource mobilize internally. Residents of Monrovia, do you pay your property rates to your city? No? Well, where does the city get money from? Okay, I actually know the answer. I know that the central government collects property rates, but I also know that the law says it should be collected by the city. I'll leave it there. And then we move on. And I can tell you my experience, since we're all family and this is, just between us and the four walls. I can tell you my experience. Resource mobilizing and having it sustained cannot happen. You cannot have sustainable growth in your city without sustainable income. And that income comes from me and you. In Sierra Leone, I don't know if you have this word, you probably don't because it probably comes from Nigeria, but we have a word, osusu. Does anybody know what that means? So you may not know the word, but I'm guessing, given that we're neighbors, you have a similar concept. It's a concept where friends get together, and every month, everybody contributes into a pot, and then it's someone's turn for you to take it out. What do you call it? Susu. Oh, not far. We call it osusu. So you can see we're really family. And you know what? City government, city leadership, it is susu. You get out what you put in. You don't put anything in, nothing comes out. And this is what we're doing in our city. So we've been able, again to the question of smart using technology, we've been able to geomap our entire city. We've been able to take a satellite view of all the city, capturing every rooftop, sending enumerators out to get measurements of all of those properties so that we moved our database of properties paying rates from 30,000 before I came into the city to 110,000. We also changed our rating value from an areas-based value with mill rates that hadn't been changed for 20 years to a value-based. So we moved from expecting to raise in our currency about 8 to 10 billion leones to being able to raise 49 billion because of the use of smart technology. And the way that happens, of course, is that we all have to play our part in the susu. So at the moment your property rate goes to the government, I hope you still pay it, because it'll go from the government to your mayor. Third and final, our strategic actions, our sustainable actions, our smart action to ensure that we have impact on the lives of our residents. Building sub-regional alliances. And I'm so thrilled to be here today because this really marks the beginning of a much deeper, closer relationship between the cities of Freetown and the cities of Monrovia. And why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because you learn from people who are experiencing the same challenge you're experiencing. We're twinned with the city of Hull in Kingston, the city of Charleston in South Carolina, and a Chinese city that sometimes I struggle to pronounce. But these are all great partnerships. They bring their own value. But there's something really special about you being able to exchange notes, exchange experiences, and work together with people whose challenges are the same as yours. We're going to work together on sanitation. But earlier on today, I said to Mayor Koji, your Metropolitan Police, your City Police, and if any of you are in the room, big shout out to you. I am so impressed with you guys. We are going to actually ask you to come visit and be part of our new training program for our Met Police. We have a much smaller force. Same city size, but smaller force. We've got 1.5 million. He gets 700. It's not fair. I've only got 100. But we're going to change that, and we're also going to learn. But this I believe, is opening up a new chapter. A new chapter not just for Freetown and Monrovia, but a new chapter for cities in the sub-region. At the end of the day, we're doing all of this for one reason, and we should never lose sight of that reason. The reason is our residents. The reason is you. The reason is because it is our duty and responsibility for the next generation to ensure that in the space that we have as city leaders, we provide an enabling environment where young people and old people can grow, can thrive, can have access to education, can have access to better health, better housing, sanitation, jobs. That's why we're doing this. That's why we hold our positions. And if we ever forget that, someone should rudely remind us. We wake up every day to make sure we improve the lives of those we serve. And sustaining smart actions for smart cities, to me, means we take these 3 actions and we put them into practice. We make sure we have strategic plans with targets, and we report to you, as I know we'll be receiving a report very soon from the mayor. We make sure we mobilize resources, and that only happens if you're already working with everybody together and everyone feels vested in the plans that you have. Reaching out of your comfort zone. We've been really impressed by the level of philanthropic engagement we've had, as well as support from our diaspora. These are all avenues for revenue. Think outside the box. And Smart Action 3, something we've started today and something we'll build on. Let's share across the region. Let's learn from each other. We've got the same challenges, and together we can find the solutions to improve the lives of our people, to improve the lives of the next generation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, madam.